hello. I don't know if I'm on because I'm not seeing my camera. Hey, Aaron, can you guys see me? Because I don't have myself on the screen. What the hell? There I am. Okay. It's got a whole new Facebook. Why do they do this during a week with Mercury retrograde? Not really sure. I guess they just want to like really make things even more difficult for all of us. I feel like my audio is out of sync, but maybe I'm just seeing a delay. I don't know. So how is everybody? I know it's been a trying week. Hey, Nancy, I haven't seen you in ages. I hope you're okay. Hi, John. John and I had a great conversation yesterday. So I hope everyone is feeling good. We've got some swirling energy out there, right? I find that this particular Mercury retrograde was really hard on me. I usually don't feel Mercury retrogrades very much. I was born with Mercury in retrograde, so they don't really affect me. Or I should say they don't affect me as much as they do some others. So if you look in your chart and you see if you have Mercury retrograde when you were born in your natal, usually then you don't feel so much of the resistant kind of energy that we get during a Mercury retrograde. I feel like my mascara is running over here. Hey, Christine. Hey, Odette. So many people that I haven't seen in so long, and I love seeing you all on here. Colleen, Beth. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to come on. So Mercury retrograde, as I said, has been really powerful. And the reason for that is because this week it goes direct on the 12th of July. So usually when a planet is starting to go either into its retrograde or it's ending its retrograde and going direct, we usually have very intense energy. It intensifies the energy of the planet because it has to really slow up to change direction. So that's why for those of you out there, I'd love to hear your Mercury retrograde stories. Hi, Amy. I hope you're doing well. I haven't talked to you in a long time. Sarah, Janine, everybody. I love our community out here. So if you're feeling Mercury retro a little bit more intensely than normal, it's because it's going to go direct by, I guess the 12th is what, Sunday, Saturday? So I want to get into the astrology tonight so these videos aren't overly long for you guys. Couple of things happened already this week that we know. We had that big full moon eclipse in Capricorn. I talked a lot about that last week, so you can replay that tape if you need any tape. I'm showing my age, right? You can replay that video, that vid, to get the gist on the eclipse energy. But what I can say is that this is setting up now the last 6 months of the year. And a couple of reasons for that. This week we've got Saturn returning back to Capricorn. Remember, I keep talking in all my astrology videos this year about the Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn all jammed up in Capricorn. And so Saturn had gone into Aquarius, the next sign over in our zodiac wheel, for a little while. And now it's returned in retrograde because everything's retrograde still, right? We have 5 planets retrograde. Mercury's going to stop being in retrograde soon, so we'll have 4. But Saturn went back to Capricorn. So now it's joining that stew that we have with Pluto and Jupiter there. And so that's bringing us a revisit a little bit of the spring energy. It's bringing us a revisit of, when COVID started in March and that time. So we're going to see a resurgence of a lot of the energy in the world that was occurring and starting around that time. We're going to see that kind of resurging in the next few weeks. And one of the things that I was going to say, I'm just watching the comments, one of the things I was going to say is that look into where you were in your life when all of the pandemic and things started, because that might repeat some energy a little bit as Mercury goes direct and as Saturn is returning to that area of the sky that it was in early March, April. So if you've had something that's been ongoing, back and forth, rotating, circulating in your life, you're probably going to see it come up again. But it's for the final time to really resolve the issue. And this will be ongoing for us until December, a little bit of this energy. The reason for that is because Jupiter is going to amplify it. It expands whatever it touches. And Pluto, of course, is there intensifying things. And now that Saturn goes back, Saturn is the restriction. Saturn is the limitation. So while Pluto was being intense and Jupiter was expanding it, now Saturn's going to come back into that energy to put a lid on it, to make it restrictive. So that's why I think we're seeing some of the states roll back their openings and things, because that's what we started this with when Saturn was in that place. That's when we first saw the restrictions, the limitations of our movements and things like that. So you'll see that a lot more now in the next few weeks as Saturn goes into that same exact place. So a couple of things are going to happen. First of all, the end of the week on July 12th, when Mercury goes direct, it also squares Mars. And what happens with that is we're going to see a lot of forward momentum. It might raise issues in things of this spot in Capricorn where you've had these issues with limitation, with boundaries, with expansion and contraction, with the abuse of power. What do we give power to in our own life, and how is that abusive to us, whether it's with a person or a habit we have. So that's going to come up, and around the 12th, expect something to heat up in a very dynamic way with those kind of energies. And there's going to be different for everybody depending on your sign. I'm going to go through that really quickly. So expect a shift of energy in some way if you haven't already felt that the eclipse brought that in. Eclipses can be prolonged energy. And with Mars staying in Aries, usually Mars will be in a sign 5 to 6 weeks. It's staying in Aries till the end of this year. It'll go retrograde in Aries from September to November. And what that's doing is it's making this a sustained type of energy. A lot of the volatility, the violence that we're seeing out in the world, we had a lot of violence in Atlanta this past weekend. That's going to be, give or take where it happens geographically across the globe. That's going to be a sustained energy. That Mars staying in Aries is kind of pulling that energy into a place where it's just kind of ongoing and tedious, which wouldn't normally be. And it's activating and igniting that Capricorn part of the charts for all of us, where we have the abuse of power questions on the globe and in our own life, certainly. So really look at that and observe what is happening in your own life. What are you giving power to? Like I spoke about in the last video, what do you worship? What do you think about constantly? That's where your power is going. And the upside of this is we have some energy coming in also on the 12th where the sun trines Neptune, which means it's 3 houses away, 3 signs away from Neptune. Neptune's been a very powerful energy for those of you who've been having really deep dreams, or even find yourself going into fantasy, or if your psychic ability has been extremely heightened, or if you find that you're going into meditation and it's really taking you like into an astral plane, galactic energy, divine connection. That's Neptune, and it's being really activated in all of our charts right now. And so on the 12th, when Mercury goes direct and Mercury squares Mars, we have this good optimistic energy that comes in with the sun trining, which is a good thing, good energy trines, Neptune. And trines are flowy, they're very harmonic energy, very in harmony. And so when the sun shines on that Neptune, it's a great time, give or take a day before or after, for us to meditate, to do psychic things. I'm very excited because I actually have a reading with someone on the 14th, and I know that's going to be really, really intense. Yes, I also get readings from certain people. I can't read my own stuff, so I obviously, our three-dimensional life gets in the way. I can read yours, but I can't read mine. So what do we do with all this energy? Well, the Capricorn energy has been going on for quite a while, and I'm sure wherever it is in your charts that's really been an ongoing thing. The Neptune energy is coming in to help us. The Neptune energy is coming in to make us really optimistic, to give us hope about things. So I would say one of the things we have to do with this energy, and the way to process it, is to remain really realistic. And when I say realistic, I mean stay in the real. And the real might be something a little bit different for all of us. For me, it's definitely divine connection. It's doing work like this, so I've been more focused on this type of work. But it could be whatever for you. If it's a walk in the forest, if it's going to a mass, if it's a ritual, if it's time with your family. Those are all things that we should be doing that bring us joy, because the energy right now is very heavy. And while you're doing those things, try and be present in them. I remember before I even really awakened to my spirituality many years ago, when my nephews were very young, very little, and they were, playing on the floor with toys and things in that age. I remember I would watch them, or I'd be babysitting, or I'd be at a family gathering, and I would actually just sit down and focus on my breath and just watch them and like freeze frame the moment, because I knew they were going to grow up really fast, and they were so cute. And I didn't know it then, they were all like 30 now, but I didn't know it then, but I was being fully present in the moment, and tapping into my connection with myself and with my spiritual side. And so that's what we need to do in this energy, is be really mindful and be really present, because we've all got some intense energy coming into our lives, and we've all got intense energy on the global stage that affects us. It triggers us. And that's one of the reasons why it's happening, so that we are shook up and we look at things to make them better, build them better, dig the foundation deeper. So in order to process this energy, it's really important, whatever your rituals or spiritual practices are, or just whatever your joy time is, really spend energy in that, because that deserves your attention, and you deserve your own attention, and you deserve to be included in your life. And I think the mistake a lot of us are making is we're really like getting into the deep river of social media and news forums, and going into those places and deep diving into them, or conversation with family or friends about what's going on in the world. And I'm certainly not suggesting to ignore that. We have to be present in those things too if they're important to us. But there's a way to do that in a healthy way without bringing all the information in, which is the Gemini North Node we're all experiencing now. Bring all this information in to a point of overload, and then all we keep reverbing and enumerating in our brain is, what do I do with all this information? What's true? What's not true? I got to find out what's true. Did you do this? Did that do this? Is this person real? And that's just a distraction from us sitting in our own real. And that's what I mean when I say go into the real, and that will create your reality. So when you sit with yourself in the real point of presence, then bring that into your reality and allow that to become your reality. That's how I'm processing this energy anyway, is I am creating my own reality. Not in a fantastical escapism way, but in a realistic way of, who do I really want to show up to be, and who do I really want to be in this life. And when I see violence, or I see things which we can't escape now, how do I bring myself present to be a solution to that in my own little corner of the world, without having to become a violent activist, or someone who cries out almost indignantly for things that no one is hearing, because no one listens when someone screams. My energy is very sensitive, and as soon as someone yells at me or raises their voice or becomes aggressive, I am completely shut down. I don't hear what you're saying anymore. And it's involuntary, because I don't let that in. So being really a protestor is not the way to be heard. Usually the way to be heard is through cooperation and compassion. So that's why I ask you all to go into the real in your own lives, and bring that real into your reality, because that's what it's supposed to be, is us creating our own reality. And we're all guilty of distraction, Christine. It's not you. And what I would suggest for all of us, instead of feeling guilty about the distraction, let it flow through you and ask, why do I need this? Why am I watching CNN 24 hours a day? Or why do I keep going to Fox News? Or why do I keep scrolling a news feed that's a lot of nonsense? Why am I doing that? What am I really looking for? What crack am I really looking to fill? That's the work. That's the real work, and not the bypass of it. So that area that you're supposed to really be focusing on right now, as far as the Capricorn energy goes, if you need to know your rising signs, and that's the way I'm going to be doing these videos when I personalize them for your zodiac signs, and it's easy to find that out. What you do is you go on to astro.com, and you put your birth time, place in, your birth information in, and it will bring up a free chart. And I would strongly suggest everybody printing out their chart, because you can refer to it during these videos in the weeks to come. And it'll really help you have a basic knowledge of your own astrology, which is what my large intention is for our community and the people who watch me. I believe everyone should have a basic knowledge of their own chart. If you want a reading with me, you can book that on zenkuda.com under services, and I'd be glad to work with you to point out things in your chart that you need to work with. But for now anyway, I think that if you print out your chart and really look at certain aspects in it, and you'll learn things in the weeks to come. I think that that is one way that we can really help ourselves on our journey to living above our five senses and finding our own real and finding our own reality, because it's there in our charts of our life purpose, everything, our challenges, our attributes, all of it, and how to work with it. I always say I wish they would teach astrology in school instead of some of the stuff they teach, but that's just my personal opinion. So you find your rising sign. The rising sign is the ascendant sign. It's your first house. That is the house in the chart that is you. It is representative of you and yourself and your inner self. So this Capricorn energy that is, bringing up abusive power, bringing up changes in ourselves, bringing up life purpose, bringing up the things we really value, bringing up our securities, the outside as well as our inner. For Aries rising, that's your 10th house, which is your career area. So for Aries, that Capricorn Cancer axis energy that's coming in is going to be really about your career. Is my career what I really value? Do I want to change my career? Is this just a job and I really want a vocation? Is my job not making me feel secure? Or are you looking for security in your job? Has your job become everything to you? And now there are things happening at work in order to bring that structure down a little bit, so you really have to look at what you truly value. So that would be for the Aries rising. It's going to happen in your career house. Pisces rising, it's going to be in your 11th house, groups of hopes, wishes, dreams, groups of people. And for Pisces right now, that would be sometimes a changing of the guard. Your friendships are probably changing a lot. The groups that you associate with and do work with are probably changing. There may be an abuse of power there, or you may have abused power, or you may have given them too much power in your life. I know, John, you're a Pisces rising, and that is very true of you in the Cancer section, because it's the Cancer Capricorn axis. We had a discussion about that last night. And for John, his Cancer portion of this, which is the opposite of the Capricorn, is in his family, home, and children area, and he's experiencing some changes there. If you're an Aquarius rising, this is the 12th house. Aquarians right now are going into some deep transformation. 12th house is our soul work. It's our inner work. It's our house where we want to throw off restrictions and we want to feel free, and we want to change our life in some way to reflect our inner free spirit. So for Aquarian rising right now, this is a very critical time for you to follow what your heart really wants you to do. Capricorn rising, this is your first house of self. This is going to be all about what you really want, what you really desire, how the world has seen you up to now, and how you really want the world to see you. Capricorn rising, this is also probably going to bring in some materialism for you. Have you been climbing the corporate ladder in order to obtain a lot of material wealth, only to find it's not satisfying, or something that you have really been reaching for the goal, and you've been so focused on the top of that mountain that you haven't realized the journey was actually the gift, not the prize. That's definitely true for Cap rising. Sag rising, this is myself actually, I'm a Sag rising. This is our second house. This is money and the things we value. It's finances. This is an abuse of power. Where have you been extravagant? Where do you need to pull in the reins? Something's going to happen to limit you, so that you have to realize what you truly value in your life. It's also for Sagittarius rising. This is valuable things that you value as far as what's truly important to you in your life, and your true core values. The way that you make your money needs to reflect that. If you've been on a career path that does not reflect your inner true value, that's going to change. You're going to get knocked around a little bit with that, so that you actually do get redirected in the path that you're supposed to be on. Scorpio rising, this is communication and siblings. This is for Scorpios changing the way that they actually communicate with people, and maybe siblings can come into play with this. Scorpios sometimes use silence as a form of power. They can be, really cut you dead. And so maybe something's going to be happening in this third house, where you understand a perception of communicating a little bit differently. For Libra rising, this is your home, family. It's your fourth house. Libras, this is about shakeups at home. It could be a physical move, purchasing a new house or property. It could be if you work with homes or have a home-based business, something will, be knocked down in order to be built better. So in the end, for all of this, any sign, any house, it comes out better, but we just get like a brick taken out so that we have to rebuild. So for Libra rising, that's in your home and family life. So it could materialize as an actual physical building of a house or move, or it could just be that structures around the home and family are changing. Could be a divorce, could be a marriage, something in that kind of thing. Virgo rising, this is your 5th house of creativity and children. So Virgo could happen to have a baby, could be children leaving home. It could be something to do with abuse of power and powerful situations around children. It could also be creativity coming from an idea about a childlike thing or child enthusiasm, something like that. So for Virgos, creativity is at an all-time high, as is probably fertility. So if you're not planning on having a baby, be careful. Leo rising. Leo rising, 6th house is health. Take care of your health. This is also a great time to start new health routines. The universe will really have your back and push you forward in that. Leos, if there's been any kind of a health issue that's been kind of nagging you or straggling with you, just try to take care of it. It could be anything from, just something with the stomach, or it could be something, toothache or whatever. Don't keep putting it off. Take care of it. It's a great time to go on new health routines. Also for Leo rising, this is your work routine and daily life. So you might have a completely different work routine after December than you have right now, because it's for the next 6 months or so that this Capricorn energy will come into play. Diane, if you don't know the time of your birth, you can actually get a copy of your birth certificate. And as long as they give you the long form, your time of birth will be on there. So you can always do that. And that's for everybody, no matter where you're from. If you don't know your time of birth, there are ways that we can actually decipher it. It's a little involved, but I can kind of pinpoint it somewhat. But the best way is actually the birth certificate. Cancer rising, 7th house is relationships. Cancer rising, 7th house of relationships. This has been going on for you for a few years, where you've had the 7th house aspected with this energy. So this might be a lot of comings and goings. It might also be that you are really reevaluating the way you look at relationships in your life and what has been powerful and what hasn't been powerful. If it's not on there, Diane, I would request wherever you were born, you can actually request if they have a long form, and if they'll have one with it on it, because all birth certificates have to have the time. So Cancer rising, this has been relationships. You're probably going to really be reevaluating, sweeping the porch clean, new people coming in. This is also going to be where you become more powerful in relationships, your perceptions of relationships. And not just romantic, but it could be familial, siblings, parent, work relationships, all of it. Gemini rising, this is your 8th house. For Gemini risings, this has been very intense. This is about transformation on a very deep level. It could also be death, someone around you, an elderly parent or something like that. And of course, we all know that death is never final. They just go into a different realm. We still feel the energy and the love. But Gemini rising, this is deep transformation. It could also be symbolic death and rebirth for you in your life, or for someone very close to you, undergoing a complete catharsis. And Taurus rising in the 9th house, this is travel, foreign language, foreign things. It's also higher learning, spiritual learning in the 9th house. So for Taurus rising, you may have taken up something to do with New Age or occult, or you may be wanting to travel or learning a different language or something like that. But there's a message deeper in there for higher learning of some kind of spiritual awakening for you. So that's the Capricorn energy. That is Jupiter returning to 22 degrees of Capricorn, and in that place that it was in the spring. This is the activation, intensity, and expansion of this energy right now until the end of the year. So that's the running theme. That's the, hi David, hi Janine. That's the running theme right now in all of our lives, and it really does kind of fit. So if you don't know your rising sign and one of these really fit what was going on, I'll bet you $10 that's your rising sign. Because the astrology never lies. It's always exactly as it should be. So that's one part of what's going on. And the other part of what's going on in all our charts is Mars in Aries, like I said, for 6 months until the end of the year. And Mars in Aries is really setting up a lot of things in our charts. And I'm going to go through really quickly what house that would be affecting for all of you, the Mars energy. If you're Aries, it's your first house. It's yourself. It's the energy of this is kind of heating up in a dynamic way. And it will ignite that part of your chart. So, for instance, if you're you're an Aries rising and Mars is right in your first house right now, you're going to want to do things for yourself. You're going to want to fulfill something you've been wanting to do for yourself for a long time. It's going to give you the energy to do that. It's going to, Mars in Aries is going to maybe shake up things that are not promoting that. If there's something in your life that's restrictive or holding you back, Mars in Aries may explode that in order for you to have to really do what you want to do with your life and with yourself. If you're a Pisces, this is happening in your second house, which is finances, the things we value. And Mars will really be igniting that house. This could be a time when you really start to make a lot more money at your job. It could also be if your job is not working for you financially, you may find it, disappearing or a change at work or something happening to bring you into a more dynamic space. Mars in Aries is not going to do things with like a kid glove. It's not going to do things like a gentle little push. Mars in Aries is going to be like dynamite. Mars in Aries, and that's good because once we turn that energy around, we can use it for assertion. Like Mars in the second house is wonderful for starting or planning out a new business. I wouldn't start it until after December. Anybody who's planning something really, really huge or a big change in their life, I would be in the planning phase for the next 6 months because the energy really changes in January. But when Mars comes in, it's going to ignite something. It's going to ignite that part of your chart. Whether it ignites it in a negative or a positive is kind of irrelevant because the universe is so wise and loving, everything always ends in positive. Sometimes we have to go through the negative to do that. But Mars in Aries, when it ignites it, does it in a very powerful way because Mars isn't fooling around. Mars is warrior energy. It's warlike energy. But if we can harness it for the part of the chart that it's touching, it helps us accomplish our goal. It's assertion. It's like the firepower to get it done, whatever we've been really thinking about in that part of our chart. So it's really, really cool. So Aquarius rising, this is your third house communication. Mars in Aries for Aquarius right now would be anything to do with communication. If you're thinking of doing some kind of online thing, if you're thinking of having a really serious talk with someone, if there's a conversation you need to have with your boss, or now is a really good time to do it because Mars for Aquarius right now, right, Aquarius rising, is going to give you the power and the courage to speak what you need to speak and communicate what you need to, even if it's email, whatever, some kind of communication. It also may give you a communication that wakes you up out of complacency, that really shows you your path. For Capricorn rising, this is your fourth house of family. So Mars in that area is going to heat things up to break apart any relationships that need work or shouldn't be in your life. Mars in Aries is also going to really shine a microscope on the things that need healing. So that's a big deal because Mars in Aries right now is also going to conjunct a planet called Chiron, which is the wounds that we bring into this lifetime, and Chiron helps us heal them in this life. So when Mars hits that energy, especially for Cap risings in the fourth house, it's going to be a lot of family healing. And Aquarius is going to heal a lot of communication. Pisces is going to heal a lot of the things you love and value. Aries is going to heal a lot of the self-work and self-love. For Sag rising, this is your fifth house. Again, children, creativity. This is going to bring in a lot of creativity for you. It also might ignite a conflict with children or a parent-child relationship. But it's really going to ignite that childlike enthusiasm. Scorpio, this is your daily life. Mars in Aries is affecting you there. This might shake things up a little bit in that aspect, and also health. So take care of your health for the Scorpio risings out there. Libra rising, seventh house. This is relationships. Mars is going to shake up your relationships, Mars and Aries. So Libra, that seventh house rising for you is going to be aspected with, I think, conflicts coming to the surface so they can be healed in relationships. Virgo, your eighth house of transformation. I will get back to it. RJ, Virgo, your eighth house of transformation, Mars is there. So this is giving you the firepower you need to really make those transformations in your life. Transformation is never easy. Sometimes it's really painful, but you can do it, Scorpio risings, with that beautiful, Virgo risings, with that beautiful Mars and Aries energy in your sign. Leo rising, ninth house. This is travel. Don't be surprised if somebody from a foreign land or you start studying with someone from a foreign land over the computer or how we can do it right now. So it's also astral travel. If you want to visit other realms or do a past life regression or any of those things with Mars in that part of your chart, Leo, this is a great time to do it. For Cancer rising, this is your 10th house of career and work. So you're going to have a lot of firepower in that area. If there's a promotion that you wanted to do or a change that you wanted to make, now you have that aspected. If it's happening in your career house, Mars and Aries right now, and things are not going so well, it's happening to show you where you need to put attention and what you really need to look at and change and heal. Gemini rising for Mars right now is in your 11th house. So that's your groups of friends, your dreams, your wishes, your goals and accomplishments. So for Gemini rising, the Mars energy may affect you with groups of people, and you might find those kind of things changing or being upset in some way. And finally, the Taurus rising. This is your 12th house. Mars is in the 12th house for you right now, Taurus rising. So that is going to be where you feel restrictive. It's going to be where you want freedom. You're going to maybe have a tendency to be impulsive about that. So think really carefully, our Taurus risings out there, before you do breakups or makeups or any of that stuff, or change your job or any of those things. You want to really think carefully, because this could be a little bit impulsive for you as freedom wants to just come out. So now I'm going to go back to the chat and see. I'm sorry about that, David. Libra, I was saying that Libra, for the Mars energy, this is the 7th house of relationships. And for the Capricorn energy for Libra rising, that's going to happen in your home and family. So if you've been having some blow-ups at home with the Capricorn energy, David, you got to work on that stuff. Elaine, the reason why, and I want to explain to everyone why I do rising signs. When you read horoscopes or astrologies, and it's one of my pet peeves when I see all of the memes that people put up from astrologers and things, because some of them aren't really astrologers. They're just people who put something up that they saw, and then it keeps getting repeated, and it's not always the right information. Astrology can be pretty deep. So if you have a question, you can always PM me. I'll try to answer if I'm not with a client or in a meeting. But the reason why I use rising signs is because when you look in online, or you try and say, okay, I'm a Libra sun, and let me look up for Libra, it's not always accurate, because the planets affect us based on what house they're touching, and that is by your rising sign. So you want to always look up, if you're following someone on YouTube or looking at my videos or whoever, you always want to go by your rising sign to see how the energy is really affecting you, because that will show you what house it's really affecting in your chart. And each house in our chart, when you look at a chart, it looks like, I probably have a chart, here's a chart. When you look at a chart, it looks like this, right? That's a very complicated one, because I put a lot of planets in my charts when I do readings. You can, when you get yours on astro.com, it's going to have like 5 planets in it, so it's much easier to read. But when you look at a chart like that, it has a wheel that's in sections, almost like a pizza pie. All of those are houses, and each one of those houses represents a very important area of our life. So when you look up a chart, you don't just want to say, oh, I'm a Libra, that's for me. No, because you may be a Libra and your sun could be in any one of those houses on the chart, and that's how it'll affect you. And we determine that by the rising sign. So you always want to look up what your rising sign is whenever you go for any kind of astrological report, or to see how a full moon or an eclipse is affecting you. Really, really important to do that. Aaron, the Virgo rising for Virgo rising for the Capricorn energy is creativity, children, and also fun. So fifth house is sex for fun, you know, relationships for fun, as opposed to the eighth house, which is intensity. So the fifth house is like creativity, it's lightheartedness. It's also children and childlike behavior, could be child issues. On your Mars energy, Aaron, I think you know we talked today, I think, the Cancer, right? No, I'm sorry, Virgo rising. For you, it's the eighth house of transformation. So you've got it in both houses that are about, the eighth house is death, sex, and other people's money. And the fifth house is sex, children, and creativity. So you've got it in both those houses, the Mars energy in the eighth and the Capricorn energy in your fifth. So you're having some conflicts there, Aaron. I would say just try and flow with it. But you're a very evolved guy. Aaron's a beautiful soul, if I do say so. And so you always are really tuned into what's going on in your life. So just keep flowing with that stuff, okay? Yeah, I know, Janine, you've been going through some stuff. We talked about your birth certificate, sweetie. Okay. And also distractions. All of us have distractions right now. I always do when I look at things like this. I don't know why. It's a weird habit. Okay. I think that's about everything. We are not in retrograde. The Earth does not retrograde. Maybe if you're on the moon, it looks like it's retrograding. But we have 5 planets in retrograde right now, David, and we have we'll have 4 at the end of the week because on the 12th Mercury goes direct. Capricorn, Linda, if you are a Capricorn rising, you've had all this Capricorn energy affecting your first house for a few years now. That will end in December. So this last 6 months are your critical time to handle all the stuff that's going on within you, all about self, as far as the Cancer stuff that we have with Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Cancer. The Mars energy for you, Linda, as a Cap rising, is going to be in your 4th house of home and family. So that's going to be a lot of assertion and aggression in home and family. It may even be a move, or if it's not a move, a rebuild, or you buy a second home, or if you want to do more from home. It could also be symbolic of your home within and doing work on your own home, of your home within. Christine, you're going through some stuff physically. Christine, what is your rising sign? I know that I did a reading for you, and I don't remember it off the top of my head because I do hundreds of readings. Yeah, you can always play the video back if you want to, find out what each one is. But I would say, Christine, in your chart, your 6th house is probably being affected because 6th house is health and physical. And so a lot of times when we have a transit in our 6th house, like, Pluto or Saturn will be going by our 6th house, that's when we really will find, like, we have an accident, or we inadvertently, like, have kind of something freakishly weird happen to us. I remember I had an aspect going through my 6th house last year, and I had this huge infection in my elbow that the doctor actually had to drain and found bacteria in. And it wasn't like you couldn't see it with the skin or anything. It was just my elbow would not move. And it was actually inside, like the tissue. And it was just so weird because I never did anything to my elbow. And he said that those kind of things really usually happen when you have a bad accident or a bruise. So freakish things can happen when something's aspecting your 6th house. Gemini rising, Elaine, for your Capricorn energy, that's been in your 8th house for a while. So you're probably going to find that you're for you especially, deep transformation, but I have a feeling for you especially, it's about your psychic ability and the things that come through for you. You're probably changing that in a way. Your Mars energy, Mars in Aries is affecting you, Elaine, on the Gemini rising in your 11th house, which is groups, friends, hopes, and wishes. Excuse me. So I think that's our broadcast. I'm sorry. My mother always used to say when someone sneezes, see, that's not a lie. I don't know if that's some kind of superstition. But I think that's our broadcast. And all I want to reiterate before I close is, please, my beautiful people, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes a day, connect with yourself. It's so important to connect with ourselves in this energy. There's a lot of chaos out in the world on every arena right now. I even had one of the astrologers that I follow religiously is having a huge conflict in his astrology, um, like a scandal almost. So there's chaos all over, and it's really important for us to stay in connection with the relationship with ourselves. Buckminster Fuller wrote a book, Oblivion or Utopia, and he addresses it in the book. It's not called that. And that's really what this energy is like. We have the ability through connection with ourself and divine guidance to go into a utopia. We can create whatever we want from this energy, and we have a choice. Every choice we make creates more of us. Or we can go into the oblivion of allowing everything to control us, mind, body, and spirit, and losing ourselves and being oblivious. We see a lot of that going on in the world, where wearing a mask or seeing someone, if they have a mask on or not, becomes all important to everyone. Yes, that's important, but it's not more important than you, your soul, and your connection with yourself. Neither is any election or anything that's going on in the world. It all starts in here and connecting with ourselves. And we have to do that. I don't care if it's for 5 or 10 minutes a day. If we don't have that connection, we will be in oblivion. So we can do utopia or oblivion. The choice is yours. So thank you so much. And please, like my pages. Please subscribe to me on YouTube. I'm probably going to be switching over all of our lives to YouTube at some point in the next month or so. I also have some beautiful things on my website. If you go under services, you can book a reading with me. And also my original oracle cards, Circle of Light, are there as well. So if you want to keep light in your life, especially at these times, those oracle cards are just beautiful, and you can order them online. So thank you so much. I will be back Thursday at 6:30 on Gov's Comedy Central at Facebook, and also on govsradio.com on the internet. Can you tell it's Mercury Retrograde? So funny. Thanks so much, everybody. Stay connected. Bye-bye.